Welcome back to the second hour of the Power Play. And now, the man so popular they named not one, but two states after him, Dakota Case.
Oh, stop it. No, you're awesome. No, I love you, man. I love you.
Oh.
I don't even know where to go from there. You are listening to the Power Play Hockey Talker Radio here on KCFS 94.5 FM. If you would like to call in to the show, you know, we'll talk some hockey, some Minnesota Wild, some Sioux Falls Stampede, which we will get to later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, hockey in general, give us a call at 605-331-6696. That is 605-331-6696. So, I love... Is my phone... Is that my phone? I think the Minnesota Wild are primed for a great year. I really do. I really, truly do. I think for once we're finally going to have some great secondary scoring. You know, it looks like the young guns. I mean, really, not a single young gun has had a terrible camp.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Which has just been, you know, you have guys that you just think are just going to struggle. You know, you hear about the sophomore slump.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, that's not going to happen with one Mr. Charlie Coyle.
Right.
Charlie has been nothing short of a stud. You know, last night he scored his team-leading third goal of the season, the preseason. But what is also interesting is the fact that Nino Niederreiter has really been stepping up too. In fact, he scored a goal last night that ended up not counting, simply because the refs missed it, and there is no video review in the preseason.
Sure.
Of course it would happen to Minnesota.
Yeah.
But it was a water, and here's the thing, it popped the water bottle. It was a water bottle popping power play goal by Nino Niederreiter.
And the refs missed it.
Yeah.
Listen to the game last night. Did it annoy you at all that the broadcaster Niedermeyer?
It's like, come on, Bob.
Listened to it on the way home from work, and I just wanted to reach through the radio and just strangle him.
I know.
Because he didn't do it just once. He just, he did it several times.
And then Tom Reed would remind him that it's Niederreiter, you know? Yeah, oh, yeah, Niederreiter, you know? What a shot by Niederreiter. Yeah. I mean, for crying out loud, I was waiting for Bob Kurtz to say Neener. I mean,
well, if nothing else, the guy can just say a shot by Nino, you know.
El Nino. Oh, he'd butcher that too.
No, Paul Allen does that, you know, a great pass by
Christian
or whatever, you know.
Well, you know, and it's kind of funny. I must say I would much rather have Bob Kurtz than Dan Terhaar, because it was, you know, it's Zidlitzky.
Mm-hmm.
It's Zidlitzky. Well, there were others he just butcher so terribly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to watching Wild hockey on my TV.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, seeing the great coverage by, you know, Kevin Gorg and Mike Greenlay and Anthony LaPanta. And I don't know, it's if you are, and you don't have to be just a Wild fan to appreciate this, but the announcing cast for your favorite NHL team just tends to become family.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know you. You really don't know them. But doggone it, you know, when you turn on that TV and your favorite team's on, it's just, it's these are your boys, you know. these are, you know,
sure.
Anthony LaPanta, it's great to hear you go, he scores, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one thing. Nate Prosser had an interesting interview there with Bob Kurtz and Tom Reed last night. And, that was kind of interesting. But he sounded a little different. Sounded more confident.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. You know, it was one of those. I mean, he sounded real good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys, if any of you listeners don't know, we have had him on the show here twice now. But a real neat guy, former Sioux Falls Stampede player. Really hope he does well this season.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in for a battle.
Yeah.
He's in for a battle there on the defensive side of things. I think they've got their defense set. There's really no one left to cut unless it's Matt Dumba, and I don't think they'll do that until after at least 9 games played by him. You know, and even then, I mean, they could hold on to him.
Yeah.
You know, it's not uncommon for teams to roll with 2 extra defensemen.
Well, sure. Well, you know, they brought up Jonas Brodin, and he impressed right off the bat. They just kept him. You know?
But here's the thing. Brodin, what was so impressive about him wasn't his offense. It was his defense.
Right.
But listening to the game last night, you know, you hear, you know, I think at one point I heard Tarasenko going down the left wing, you know, Dumba's on him and knocks him down, you know, or something like that. I mean, Dumba's getting to that confident point where he can play his game. You know, if he has a bad shift or a series of bad shifts, he can right the boat and get back, you know, to what makes him so successful in his game. Right. He seems like, and here's the thing, you heard a couple times last night, and Dumba with a rocket from the point or something like that, you know, with a blast from the point. Yeah. And you know, Dumba leaps up into the play there. And that's what an offensive defenseman does. You know, Jonas Brodin isn't an offensive defenseman. He's hard. I would say he is more of a defensive defenseman, but he's classified as a two-way defender, so kind of a good mixture of offense and defense. But he's not a guy that's going to jump in, you know, to you know, create a 4-on-3 advantage or something like that, you know, or a 3-on-2, you know. Dumba will do that. He'll step in, and that's why you have to have a solid defensive defenseman there, kind of covering his back, you know. But Dumba can jump in, and he does have a really good NHL ready shot, you know. I think, and that's the bad part about the rule, the agreement between the CHL and the NHL, is that, you know, CHL kids, Canadian Hockey League players, cannot be sent down to the minors if they're under 20, you know. I really think Dumba at 19 would benefit from playing in Iowa, but it's either Minnesota or bust for him this year, you know. And it's that fact that he wouldn't be able to be called up unless it's in an extreme emergency, you know. So I think that's part of the reason why Dumba will at least get the 9-game cup of coffee, and he very well, depending on how he does, he very well could stay with the team for the rest of the season, you know. And I think I can't see him in a top 4 role quite yet, but he may be a guy that they decide to put on the power play point. You know, he does have a good shot for that. I don't think he's a kid that they're going to throw out in all situations. He's not Jonas Brodin in that regard, you know. Brodin is a guy you can throw out in all situations. He is the, how do you say it? He isn't the norm when it comes to young defensemen. Young defensemen come into the NHL already up to speed on the offensive side of the game. It's shifting to defense that is the problem. Brodin comes in, there's not a flaw in his game, except for maybe he needs to work on his shot. I could care less about his shot as long as he's keeping the puck out of our own net. Right. You know? But it is something he's been working on, and I think we're going to see bigger numbers from him. Dumba, though, comes in having to work on his defense. You know, he plays a style of game that is game-changing. It is dynamic. It is offensive. It is physical. I mean, he can just blow another player up, you know, but he has to temper it with defensive awareness. He has to make sure he's not going too far out of position to lay a check on a guy, you know. He has to make sure he's careful with his hits, you know, nothing illegal, you know. And he just has to be aware of what's going on around him. But as long as he's just kind of, keeps his eyes and ears open, as long as he's aware of what's going on around him, I think he can go out there, play his game, and succeed doing it.
You bet.
But I don't expect him to have nearly as good of a defensive showing as Brodeen did last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he could score a few goals there from the blue line. I think Wild fans are going to hear, and Dumba shoots, he scores!
Yeah,
from Bob Kurtz.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep.
This year.
Yep.
So I'd expect, somewhere around 5 goals or so for Dumba as a rookie defenseman. Defensemen don't score nearly as many goals or points as forwards do.
Right.
But, it wouldn't surprise me if he scores about 5 goals and adds about 10, 12 assists, But I don't think he skates over 20 minutes of ice time a game.
Right.
But Brodeen's looking at probably getting somewhere around 25 minutes of ice time a game. Coach Yeo talked about increasing his minutes, decreasing Suter's, because, Brodeen's to the point where he can carry, more minutes, and Suter shouldn't be the only guy, logging a lot of minutes.
Oh, right.
So you have to conserve his energy, bring his minutes down, boost Brodeen's up a little bit. You'll see Spurgeon and Scandella's minutes going up. You'll see Ballard's minutes. I think Ballard, they're talking about Scandella being the number 4 defenseman, the defenseman to the left of Spurgeon. Mm-hmm. Ballard's been a horse here in the preseason. He's been putting up assists. He scored the game-tying goal the other night. I think he can be. It would not surprise me if he surpasses Scandella and jumps to that second pairing. But at the same time, I kind of like the idea of having Scandella and Dumba on the same line. Scandella's big. He's 6'3". He's got a great shot. And here's the thing: Dumba and Scandella, not this latest rookie camp, but the rookie camp before that, they were paired up. It was in Dumba's draft year. They were paired up together on a defensive pairing in development camp, and they did quite well. Scandella is a lefty, Dumba is a righty, and I think they would complement each other quite well. They both lean more on the offensive side of things, but Scandella has a few more years of seasoning under his belt, and I think they would make a nice number 3 defensive pairing / 2B defensive pairing. But yeah, I think Minnesota's in for a really, really good season this year. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun to watch. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to The Power Play Hockey Talker Radio here on KCFS 94.5 FM. Don't go away. We've got a lot more coming up next.
NHL Network, don't panic. Your show prep will continue after this break.